If you walked away from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom with a bit of whiplash, don't be alarmed. The sequel easily feels like 3 different movies crammed into one, and each act presents its own unique horrors before the big finish brings everything together and swiftly smashes it all to bits. Taking place 3 years after the events of Jurassic World, it takes some suspension of disbelief to get our old friends, Owen and Claire, back to Isla Nublar. And the visit goes just about as smoothly as one might expect. That's just the start of their troubles too, as they face even bigger monsters on the mainland. Let's take a look at what exactly happens there at the tail end of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and tie together all of the film's plot threads. A bedside betrayal. The introduction of deep-pocketed dino-philanthropist Benjamin Lockwood explains how Hammond could afford the original outrageously expensive Jurassic Park. He's also a friendly face for the new Isla Nublar expedition, one that can convince people to join in, especially those who were involved with the previous massacre. Lockwood plays on Claire's desire to save these dinosaurs from certain extinction by the island's erupting volcano, and she in turn plays on Owen's personal connection to the raptor Blue. Lockwood may have been sincere about saving the dinosaurs, but his smarmy assistant Eli Mills is much too greedy to simply rehouse these animals on some tranquil island. Instead, he's ready to round up whatever creatures he can to auction them off to the highest bidder. At the same time, he's also working with mad geneticist Dr. Wu to create an even more lethal and valuable weapon of war called the Indoraptor. This thing is a hybrid of the Indominus Rex and the Velociraptor, and even more menacing than its parent species. Once Mills' true intentions are discovered by Lockwood, he decides to smother his longtime benefactor to death and go about the business of turning his late boss's passion project into a personal fortune anyway. What a guy. A particular taste. Mills has no trouble rounding up buyers for his new menagerie of monsters. Blue was a VIP target Claire and Owen were recruited to save, but it wasn't a charity mission at all. Owen's behavior research with Blue is important, because the Indoraptor Wu was created won't work as is. He wants to make another one that grows up with Blue, so that it can pick up her trained traits of empathy and emotional intelligence. The prototype that's displayed and then wisely auctioned off by Mills is a merciless killing machine that won't be any good to a squadron of soldiers running with it. Owen and Claire could easily walk away from the fray at Lockwood's estate once they get the Pachycephalosaurus to break them out. But instead, Owen decides to hang around long enough to ensure Wu's gene-spliced monstrosity won't ever leave the manor alive. That's when all hell breaks loose at the Lockwood auction. Twisted family tree. Poor Maisie spends her whole life being cared for by the ailing, secretive man she knows as her grandpa, but he refuses to even show her a photo of the mother she supposedly lost to Lander in his care. After he's executed by Mills, she discovers that she's a clone of his late daughter, and not actually his granddaughter. In other words, it's not just dinosaur DNA that's creating new life in the story. Human beings are also ripe for the cloning process now. Blue's on the move. As Mills' auction starts to fall apart, most of the dinosaurs are still locked up in the lower containment area. That'd be all well and good for everyone on site, except that the fracas eventually reaches the lower levels, when Wu demands that Zia and Franklin steal Blue's blood so he can save it for the next horror hybrid he decides to create. The two refuse and let Blue loose on the lab guards. That saves them, and the raptor eventually rescues Owen, Claire, and Maisie above from the Indoraptor. But her escape causes a fire blast and a toxic chemical leak that threatens to kill all of the rescued dinos in cages. Although she spent years trying to save these exact creatures, Claire chooses not to let them out because it's too dangerous to have them wandering around civilized society. But in a twist, Maisie steps up to let them loose anyway. She now knows just how much she has in common with these engineered creatures. Outside, Owen asks Blue to stick with him, but she decides to check out what the rest of the world has to offer instead. No more hybrids? In the madness, Mills' only concern seems to be to preserve the Indominus Rex bone they fished out from the Mosasaurus tank because of how valuable it will be to military geneticists. However, his luck ultimately runs out, and the T-Rex eventually stomps a sample to pieces, which means the Indominus Rex is gone. But perhaps not forever? The hybrid story could indeed continue as the Indoraptor skeleton is down below Isla Nublar. For now though, everyone who was crazy enough to do that initial dive is dead, so we'll have to wait and see if Jurassic World 3 would even bother to bring back the hybrid concept when they've got so much else to work with. Welcome to Jurassic World. Ian Malcolm warned everyone not to save the dinosaurs from the volcano at Isla Nublar. This is the same guy who once scolded the Jurassic Park team by saying,
"Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should."
And in the end, he ends up explaining to the nation that humans now have to find a way to adapt to and coexist with these creatures, lest they be wiped out by them. For good measure, we see that scientists have collected plenty of vials of DNA to ensure the survival of the species. So it's not just up to the group from Maisie's arc to repopulate their kind. It's legitimately Jurassic World now. Humans are now on the defensive, and dinosaurs are ready to inherit the Earth once more, as we see in the post-credit scene which depicts pteranodons circling the Eiffel Tower replica in Las Vegas. Remember the giant mosasaurus? It's now on the loose, preying on anything it can find throughout the ocean. Even worse, the prehistoric beings seem open to inviting the rest of modern nature to rejoin the Wild Kingdom, as the T-Rex breaks down a lion's cage and exchanges a few friendly roars with the erstwhile king of the jungle. If and when Jurassic World 3 happens, it sounds like it's going to live up to its namesake. Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.